Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle, folks. It is great to be here with you on another Fitness Friday, the best day of the week. Gotta love it. And I'm so excited to discuss fitness trends, particularly the biggest fitness trend that is going on in this country. But before I do so, there's times for vulnerability and transparency and ultimately throwing myself under the bus. So see, I know that some people think that I'm Superwoman and I get a lot of stuff done, and that's all true and this and that. But you gotta understand, and this email totally made me laugh. I had to laugh at myself because many of you know, if you've watched me long enough to know, I've done a lot of surveys. I have no problem. I actually love surveys. I have a soft spot, obviously, for marketers and salespeople, particularly market researchers, when they send out these surveys. But there are times I do have my limits when it comes to doing surveys, and I must confess to you, there's one area of surveys, or one type of survey that I will literally drag my feet and perhaps even not do it at all. And this email that I got is totally a reflection of that. So I'm just gonna read it to you, not the whole thing, just a couple of quick points briefly. Just in in the spirit of transparency, to show that as much as survey, Rachelle loves surveys, there are some that are just like, oh no. And the title of the survey that I received, actually this email that I got regarding the survey, is "We Need Your Help. Take a brief survey to help us rename our study." And so now this came from Precision Health at the University of Michigan. And so for those of you who don't know, for the last almost couple of years now, I have been a participant actually in numerous clinical research studies as a healthy volunteer. But also, most importantly, everything kicked off with my inclusion as a participant in the Apple Watch study. That is a combination or a collaboration between the University of Michigan Health System, also known as Michigan Medicine, as well as Apple. And so it's an activity-based study. So they are correlating activity levels with health records. So for example, they can look at Rachelle's health records. I'm a patient at the University of Michigan, Michigan Medicine, and say, okay, Rachelle's medications include over-the-counter allergy medications, and that's all. That's all. And so they can correlate that ultimately with, okay, Rachelle is very active. She works out a lot. She's a very big proponent of fitness, health, and wellness. So we can correlate that. We can see that. So I'm only a representative of that type of health-oriented, highly active, fitness-oriented segment of participants. And so you have people that never exercise and have a lot of health problems. And anyway, so that's just the gist of the overall study. So I am so excited. I actually got the initial email to invite me to be in the study on April 2nd, 2019, and I was so excited, and I formally enrolled on the 30th, and so it's a 3-year study. So I'm so excited to be a part of that. But more importantly, that initial study led to my inclusion and my participation in subsequent clinical research. I'm happy to do it, and ultimately was invited to be a member of the advisory panel. And so this particular email, and that's why it cracked me up. And so naming things and coming up with themes, and I realized, like, those type of surveys, I'm like, oh no. And it is clear that the very first email that they sent out regarding this type of help us rename our study, I clearly blew it off. I mean, just in full transparency, I blew it off. And so I got this email and it says, hello. And I was thinking to myself, oh, is there going to be a way for me just not to do this again? And so it says, hello, thank you again for participating in Precision Health's University of Michigan Advisory Panel. I won't, it's a longer email, I won't read it all. And so I was like, oh no. They know exactly who I am. They know I did not submit my feedback. And so they are calling me out. And then you know how you click on with Gmail, you click on the details and you can see how it has Precision Health Study, at the University of Michigan is the email that it came from. And then, and it says to me. And so it clearly, getting called out for not doing it. So, but I'm happy to report that I did buckle down and I did complete this particular survey. But it goes to show you, and I realized that about myself, is just when come up with a name, come up with a theme, help us choose between names, that is the one, those are the types of surveys that I literally in full transparency, dread. And so, but as much as I love doing surveys, it's important to realize that I too am guilty of blowing them off and getting called out myself. And so had to kick off with that just to kind of lighten up the mood as we move on in here, as we shift gears into discussing fitness trends. Fitness trends, and the biggest fitness trends, there's obviously a lot of trends going on in the fitness industry right now, but the one that I want to highlight more importantly, or most importantly, is the shift towards home-based fitness and those type of trends. And so want to discuss, and in addition to just home-based fitness, some of the threats also to the brick and mortar fitness type facilities and studios. Gonna have a combination of those, but want to kick off here by discussing the threat in terms of brick and mortar to bricks and mortar being home-based, the shift towards home-based fitness. And so as I pointed out last week, so anytime we're discussing fitness trends, and last week did a whole episode on competitive analysis. And so want to highlight that, and as it relates, again, the SWOT analysis is important as we're looking at fitness trends. And so when we think about strengths and weaknesses, when performing a SWOT analysis, the strengths and weaknesses are internal, the opportunities and the threats, of course, are external. So we talked last week about the opportunity that digital-based apps and even brick and mortar facilities that have been able to leverage technology and really embrace the digitization and the virtualization of fitness, that just the acceleration of that trend that the coronavirus has really accelerated in a big way. And so there's opportunities, a ton of opportunities there. But when we think about on a broader scale, and I talked last week and a number of times last year in these episodes about the threat of the coronavirus, and we know that the pandemic has just been a threat overall to our ways of life, but also just all segments. I mean, there's just no segment, no industry that has not been impacted by the pandemic globally, quite frankly, obviously here in the United States. But when we talk about the threat of the pandemic to the fitness industry, okay, what are we talking about essentially? And that is, and whether you're talking about a brick and mortar facility, whether you were talking about somebody shopping at Kroger, somebody that perhaps used to go 2 or 3 times a week that has now all of a sudden, shifted to, having food delivered or just, it's the threat to the pandemic on a broad scale is truly impacting consumer behavior on a broad scale. So when we drill it down, we talk about, it's a threat to the fitness industry, it's a threat to bricks and mortar, it's a threat to this, it's a threat to that. So from an industry standpoint, when we look at business on a broad scale, it's a threat to consumer behavior. Why? Because the pandemic has truly upended the way things are being done. All right. And so we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel with, the third vaccine being approved by J&J and all of that. And it's wonderful news and all of that. But the challenge to consumer behavior, where people have adopted and have shifted the way, actually we've all, I'm sure all of us can admit, we've changed the way we've done things, as opposed to walking into a store, a grocery store, for example. We'll keep the Kroger example going. So somebody typically shops at Kroger 2 or 3 times a week, pre-pandemic, and then all of a sudden they begin doing curbside pickup only. Okay, and so that's a wonderful thing, and there's been a whole lot of that going on, but what you think from a retail standpoint, from Kroger's standpoint, or even Walmart's standpoint, what you're losing in that situation is the person's ability to walk in the store, and the store will ultimately, in many cases, not always, but in many cases, lose out on potential incremental volume in terms of buying, whether it be impulse buying. Somebody goes in with a list of 5 items, and we've all been there, and all of a sudden they come out with 27 items. They didn't plan on those extra purchases, but being in the store, they're reminded, just being there. And whereas, if you're just buying something on an app, or if you're buying something on a website, you can lose the opportunity there. In the fitness industry, the shift away, or the pandemic's pressure, the pressure that put on the bricks and mortar with facility closures, and some opened and then they were closed again and reopened. And so there was just a lot of fluidity there in the last almost year of this pandemic. And so what we see there is the consumer behavior shift, where since gyms were closed and were closed for a while, what did that mean? People like myself had to come up with a plan B. And so for me, it was home-based fitness, and somebody who was all exclusive gyms for years and years and years, since 1994. And then bam, in 2020, when the gyms closed, what am I going to do? And then it became all about home. And so that is the threat, the change of consumer behavior to say, okay, working out at home, I thought I wouldn't like it, but I actually really like it. I really like it. So that is the challenge, where you have people where fitness facilities and studios and all of this and that, facility-based training and group instruction, and in many cases has gone virtual for those entities that were able to do that. And so it's just the threat of that, where all of a sudden people don't have to leave their homes. I mean, people can hop on a Peloton bike and have a group exercise experience. And so from a consumer behavior standpoint, you have that shift all of a sudden where, wow, it's not all about facilities anymore. It can really, a lot can be done at home. So that is a very big, that has been the biggest on just a broad scale threat to consumer behavior overall. Just when people shifting, saying, hey, I'm doing things a different way. And we've seen a lot of that in the fitness industry. So as a result, the opportunity for facilities that have been able to, like I said, virtualize their offerings and keep things going, there's been a very big opportunity there to say, okay, well, we have the technology, we have the infrastructure, we have the platform to be able to, bam, quickly shift and have a hybrid model where, our gyms are open, people can go inside our gyms, but we also have our digital platform. And so, but what you have here is those who, even ancillary type of businesses and entities that you wouldn't perhaps even think of, or I wouldn't have thought of, that are saying, hey, I recognize an opportunity here, and I'm going to leverage that and take advantage of that. And I want to kick this off by discussing and actually highlighting an email that I received from Handyman Connection. Handyman Connection. So that's actually a chain, a handyman chain, just like it says, national chain. And so the local Handyman Connection of Novi, I got an email, I'm looking here, January 20th. So I have been saving this email for a while. But what it says, and again, I have no I have no screen or anything like that where you could actually see this on a large scale. But what I want to do is just highlight this, and hopefully you can see the visual if I push this out far enough. But what the email says here is, in very big letters, we got the headline here of the email. Create the home gym of your dreams. And it says, hi, Rachelle. While gyms and recreation centers may still be closed, that doesn't mean you can't or shouldn't get in a good workout. If you're concerned about your safety but still want to maintain your fitness routine, creating your own home gym may be the perfect solution for you. You might be considering finishing your basement, revamping an old attic, or converting your garage into the perfect workout zone. Installing shelving for your workout equipment, updating your floors, and adding a fresh coat of paint are all fantastic ways to create modern and functional updates to your new home gym. If you're looking for assistance to help you build a new workout space, call in the professionals at Handyman Connection to maximize your home gym's potential. Our skilled craftsmen are here to help you save time and update your home so you can enjoy your new gym as soon as possible. If you're ready to create the perfect home gym, get started with a free in-home consultation. And there's a button there in yellow that says request free estimate. And I forgot to mention the title of this email is Say Goodbye to Your Gym Membership ... And I just remember, I thought to myself, man, that is well played, because I clicked on it and I was thinking this was obviously before I joined Edge. I mean, there was no threat to that because I was already going to join the gym. But I just thought to myself, man, for the right people, this was a great way to stimulate thinking, to say, okay, yes, I'm working out at home, but how can I enhance my workout space? And I just thought, so again, Handyman Connection saw an opportunity. And they said, how can we leverage this? We can get our folks in and have people revamping workout spaces. Now, I work out in my garage, and so I didn't call them. I'm not interested in revamping my garage. But for a lot of people, I mean, the visual of this workout space, it definitely got my attention. And I remember thinking, like, wow, like, this is really, really good. That was a very, very good email. Very, very well played. So wanted to highlight that. So that's an example of entities traditionally outside of the traditional fitness channel saying, hey, what opportunities can we take advantage of here to get some business in this particular arena? We see this opportunity. And I highlighted this last year. I'm trying to get some of these out of the way before I go on to my iPad reading here that's coming up soon. But this, Sam's Club, and I know Costco does the same thing. So they send out these instant savings brochures and booklets. And I pointed out last year, this is actually the one here for first quarter that came. And so they've got a couple of examples here. They've got the ProForm Trainer 8.0, $200 off, as well as Icon Sports Total Gym, $50 off. So have a couple of fitness offerings. Now this is, of course, is nothing new. This always happens, particularly in the first quarter with the whole New Year's resolution. Why? Because retailers see an opportunity there to drive certainly some sales volume based on, you know, the whole fitness craze that happens every new year. And so, but what's interesting about this is, and you'll recall last year on Fitness Friday episodes where I highlighted these instant, you know, savings books throughout the year for Sam's, is why? Because they were highlighting their fitness offerings throughout the entire year, all of 2020. And so that is something that had not been done certainly by Sam's Club before. But why? They saw the opportunity with a number, you know, people working out at home with the gym situation, studio situation, very fluid in all parts of the country. And so they saw an opportunity. Okay, so we are going to offer this fitness equipment year round for 2020. And I'm in no doubt in my mind, they saw a great sales bump based on people saying, okay, my gym's still closed. Let me find something else, or let me buy a new treadmill, or let me buy a new this, or let me buy a new that. So that was just an example I wanted to highlight. Another example here is I'm a subscriber to O Magazine, or Oprah Winfrey's magazine. And so last month we received, it was a co-promotion with Good Housekeeping magazine. And so that was very interesting. And so from a marketing standpoint, so the Oprah Winfrey's magazine subscribers were given, you know, a free edition here, free issue of Good Housekeeping magazine. And so what I wanted to highlight about this is Good Housekeeping had a very interesting, I mean, it's, again, all of these type of periodicals and magazines will drop in, particularly at the beginning of the year. Okay, the workout tips, you know, New Year's resolution tips, weight loss tips, all of this, nothing new. But what Good Housekeeping did, I mean, they had a pretty extensive, you know, where they address a pretty extensive discussion here on fitness, home-based fitness. And so they've got various things. So it starts out here, the ultimate guide to home fitness, And so it's got a few pages here. Choose, I mean, there's just a nice spread here. Choose the best location. Point number 1, okay, garage, basement, or spare corner. Another section, I'm not going to go through all this in the interest of time. Got a lot to cover today. All right, so essential equipment. No matter where you set up your home gym, you need quality gear. These versatile, top-tested picks are your best basics. So they're highlighting exercise mat, resistance bands, gliders, jump rope, dumbbells. All right, they've got a Q&A. How do you work out when the kids are at home? And then they've got an answer there. And then on this page of the spread, top-rated fitness apparel. All right, so we got leggings, sports bra, shoes, smart fitness tracker, sports headphones, space-saving kettlebell, Bluetooth speaker. And so those were highlighted. And so enhance your home gym. I mean, again, another spread. Enhance your home gym. Number 1, stock a sturdy basket. Number 2, install storage cubbies or shelves. Number 3, lay down padded flooring. Number 4, add a full-length mirror. Another section, motivate yourself to move. Another question, how do you make home workouts a habit? On the other side of this spread, the other page, muscle repair master. Another section, maximize your exercise recovery. And so there's 3 tips there. Another question, is it better to work out in the morning or at night? And then lastly, expert approved post-workout bites. And so they're talking about chocolate milk, Greek yogurt parfait, plant-based protein bars. And so here we are. And so, of course, Good Housekeeping is not the only, you know, periodical that has done this. I mean, we've seen, and this happened, of course, last year in 2020. If you read various magazines, particularly fitness-oriented magazines, there was definitely a strong highlight on home-based fitness. Because why? There's an opportunity there to say, we understand the gym situations. We want to keep our readers engaged, particularly those fitness magazines. We want to keep our readers engaged, but also think of all of the, you know, whether it's fitness apparel, fitness equipment, all of that, those entities that stand to benefit from this type of coverage where you're talking about kettlebells and all of this and that. And we remember last year, it's amazing, yeah, that there were shortages of, trying to find weights. And I know went through the same thing, trying to find things for Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And so it's amazing that it's almost been a year. It's like, where has the year gone? And so wanted to highlight that as an example. And so when you think about, the overall SWOT analysis and what is going on, the opportunity. So you really open your eyes and you say, wow, there's a lot of entities that are taking advantage of this home-based trend and things like that. But just the threat to the industry that the pandemic has certainly upended in many respects of the industry, many aspects of the industry. It's something that we can't forget, and no one's going to forget. Certainly no one's going to forget, but it's been a rough ride. It's been a rough ride. And so wanted to highlight those couple as I kick off here to begin some reading about some other fitness trends that are going on. And want to start out with 24-hour fitness. So talked about them last year, mentioned that there was some bankruptcies that occurred. There's been a lot of challenges in terms of facilities closing, facilities such as even the YMCA. I read an article last year of the YMCA of Metropolitan Detroit. They had some situations where they had to pare back their facilities by looking at the financials and how successful and how well is this facility doing. It's just been a very, very rough road. And so you've had some of the larger entities that filed for bankruptcy protection. Some have emerged, such as 24-hour fitness, but others have not yet at this point. But it's very interesting to look at what 24-hour has done. And so when we think about the impact of the pandemic and what has happened, it's clear to see adversity, and we know that the pandemic is the ultimate expression of adversity. But the pandemic has really forced a lot of entities within the fitness industry and outside of the fitness industry to evaluate where we are, what we're doing, what is working, what is not working. And so that is the beauty, not only of adversity. Now, I'm a very big proponent of and people I know hate to hear me say this, like Rachelle is a very big proponent of adversity and the positive impacts that adversity has on our lives, on businesses, on the economy. I mean, it just forces a deep diving and a deep delving into what is working, what is not working on a personal level. Am I happy? Why am I not happy? Can I change the situation? Do I need to find another job? Can this relationship be fixed or saved? I mean, there's a whole lot of that going on, and there has been a whole lot of that going on. And so when we look at 24-hour fitness, and this appeared in Club Industry magazine. And so the title of this article is 24-Hour Fitness Eyes a New Future After Reorganization. And so Pamela Kufal, who's the content director, published this on February 23rd, been hanging on to it for this particular episode. And so it's a lengthy article. You can certainly read the whole thing in its entirety on your own, but want to point out a few things here. 2020 was a long year for 24-Hour Fitness CEO Tony Uber and his team. Not only were they dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting mandates to temporarily close health clubs, but in June, the company was forced to enter Chapter 11 reorganization. It was a leadership and management challenge that has got to be pretty unprecedented in time. Uber told Club Industry during a phone interview in January. 24-Hour Fitness, San Ramon, California, filed for bankruptcy on June 15th. It emerged from Chapter 11 on December 31st with an optimized cost structure and leaner balance sheet after eliminated $1.2 billion of funded debt. Uber had two objectives with the Chapter 11 filing. The first was to survive, and the second was to set up the company to thrive. To survive, Uber and his team had to make difficult decisions, such as furloughing staff in March 2020, although they kept on more corporate and club employees than may have been warranted by the circumstances. The reason? They needed those people to help the company thrive, and toward that end, the team adapted a mentality beyond just hunkering down until things cleared up. Instead, they worked on their change initiatives to transform the organization. At the corporate level, much of the streamlining started before the pandemic and the Chapter 11 filing. When Uber became CEO in January 2019, the former owners charged him with transforming the business and accelerating growth. As a result, Uber changed out some of the executive leadership team at that time, recruiting people from outside the industry who could share outside best practices and expertise while keeping some fitness industry veterans. As part of the shutdowns, the furloughs, and the Chapter 11, the team reallocated positions between departments, adding talent and capabilities in certain areas while eliminating positions in others. Inside the clubs, they changed operations, revising job descriptions, compensation plans, and organizational structures. And here's a big one. Much of that reorganization was in the area of sales. Prior to Uber joining 24 Hour Fitness, the company had begun implementing a new club membership process that virtually eliminated sales staff based on research that indicated people dislike a hard sell. The overall effort, called EVO, wasn't well implemented and resulted in membership decreases, Uber said, although he declined to share how much of a decrease the company experienced. Now, the company has reinvented its approach, and crafted roles for club sales and service experts in recognition of the dual responsibility of engaging and enrolling members while ensuring member needs are met. Senior sales and service experts work with sales and service associates, and compensation plans offer incentives for club teamwork. The focus of the new sales process is to meet customers where they are and sell them the way they want to be sold rather than how the company wanted to sell to them. And so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to revisit this in a couple of weeks because I had a special request after last week's episode, and I absolutely said yes to that, and that is to spend some time talking about sales. And as it relates, of course, to the fitness industry, I'm absolutely going to do that. So the series that I had planned on Confidence, going to push that back and going to have a multi-episode series here on sales. So we're going to come back and revisit that because I could go down a whole nother path discussing what they did and the implications of that. And I talked about that a couple of years ago where they had implemented that plan of just having kiosks around where people guide themselves and give themselves their own tours and the implications of that. So it was very interesting testing and what they did there, and they saw the results were not favorable. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, talk a little bit more about the in-club sales experience and the implications of that before I move on in. So I'm going to table this for now, but see, they recognize they did a deep dive into their business model. What's working? Is this working? Do we need to make some changes? And so obviously they made a lot of changes. Why? So not only would 24 Hours survive, but thrive. And so that's something we all need to do. You know, of course, not only on a personal level, but on a professional level. We need to all evaluate, okay, is this the best I can do here? Is there something that needs to be changed? Is there other ways? Are there ways I can optimize, increase efficiency? Is this training modality working? Do we need to change our pricing? I mean, you got to evaluate what is going on. But it takes, in many cases, the throes of being in the deep valleys of adversity for that to happen. Why? Because when people are coasting along and everything is just going along, we are not just inclined as human beings to dig deep and say, oh my goodness, something's got to change here. Something's got to change here. And so kudos. I mean, like I said, last year we had a number of bankruptcies across the fitness industry. We had a lot of gyms permanently closed, and so just a lot of disruptions that the pandemic has caused. But this is a good news. I mean, this was good news. This is an example of digging in deep, but also emerging better than they were before. And so, as this article alluded to, hey, they were working on changes even before the pandemic. All right, the pandemic just accelerated those changes to say, okay, we really to survive this, we've got to do some things differently. What are we going to do? And so I challenge you to do that as well, to evaluate what's working and to be honest with yourselves and say, okay, what is not working? And what type of changes can we make here in order to not only survive, but to thrive? Why? Because that threat to consumer behavior where people are saying, you know what, I don't have to join gyms anymore. All right, I don't have to go to a group fitness class at a facility anymore. I can buy a Peloton bike. All right, I can make this thing happen on my own. And so to challenge that, or to certainly to counter that, is going to require a commitment to, obviously valuing members, but also creating, to the best of human ability, the best possible in-club experience possible. And for those that are also doing a hybrid model of offering digital platforms, recognizing that, again, those app-based memberships and enhancements to memberships, they've got to be top-notch. They've got to be top-notch. Why? Because the competitive environment is actually dictating that. There's just a lot of people doing that, a lot of people going that direction. So you got to make sure you're bringing it. When you do bring it, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. So that's an example of a fitness trend where, yay, we got some positive news coming out of all of this, just negative news. I remember a couple of episodes where I were talking about that last year, and it was rough. It was a very rough time period, and so entities are coming out stronger than they were before, and so let's just certainly, wish them all well as they move forward on a new path. So look forward to that sales conversation here in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And so I want to highlight another article that I've been holding on to for a long time here on my iPad. So Lauren Zumbach of the Chicago Tribune published this article January 14th of this year. And so the title of this article is Outdoor Workouts in January, COVID-19 Restrictions Force Gyms to Get Creative During the New Year's Resolution Season. So again, it's all about survival for a lot of entities. This is a lengthy article, but they've got a picture here of Robin Lalonde Wright leads an early morning class on the loading dock outside an Edge Athlete Lounge in Chicago on January 13, 2021. Lalonde had hoped the Westtown Gym would no longer need to offer outdoor classes by winter, but some members are still more comfortable taking classes in the open air, and after tightened COVID-19 restrictions made socially distanced indoor classes off limits, people kept signing up. So what is that? The demand was there. They listened to the members and said, and there's a picture, obviously you can't see it well, but you can Google the article and see it yourself. And so you got people in January in Chicago working out outside. But they did what they had to do. And so they're highlighting some different people in this particular article. And so just want to read here a paragraph. You can read the whole thing on your own in the interest of time. I'm not going to go through it all. It says, New Year's resolutions to get healthy usually bring crowds to workout classes and gyms. Count on the annual influx of new members. This year, restrictions meant to slow the spread of COVID-19 and some consumers' wariness of working out indoors, with others are forcing both fitness studios and customers to pivot. Gyms have already introduced virtual classes and adopted studios for socially distanced workouts. Now some are extending outdoor classes expected to be a seasonal offering well into winter. All right, just a quick second paragraph before I stop this, move on from this article. Online training was named the top fitness trend of 2021, according to the American College of Sports Medicine. And consumers have more options than ever, from home workout specialists like Peloton to new virtual classes and memberships and major club chains and small boutique studios alike. Some broadcast instructor-led workouts inside their studios so members can follow along. So yada, yada, yada. And they also, for balance of that article, talked about people that didn't quite find that, that model so appealing, the outdoor workouts. And I, quite frankly, as much as I love fitness, as passionate as I am about fitness, the prospect, even when I read this, the prospect for me personally of working out outdoors in January in Chicago, where I used to live when I was a student at Northwestern, that Chicago winter, those Chicago winters, and perhaps it was because I had just left Miami and moved to Chicago. It was an absolute, those Chicago winters, absolute nightmares. Particularly on Evanston, where you're right there on Lake Michigan, and that Chicago Hawk is the nickname they call for that wind, just that bone-chilling wind. And so my hat's off to people who work out outdoors in these type of climates. I just prefer indoor. I would be doing my own thing inside my house. I'm certainly there in Chicago. So kudos to people that are making things happen in perhaps sub-zero temperatures in Chicago. Nothing like a Chicago winter if you've never experienced it yourself. So wanted to highlight that. I'm going to highlight another article here by the Washington Post. And so this particular article, the title of it is The Pandemic's Home Workout Revolution May Be Here to Stay. All right, so the subhead is, in 2020, fitness moved from gyms to living rooms. It's not going back. And so Hamza Shaban published this on January 7th. Been holding on to these for this particular episode. All right, and so there's some examples here. I'm not going through another lengthy article. I'm just going to point out some highlights. And it starts off by saying, the sweat used to pour at Philly Dance Fitness, where Deborah Hirsch offered a full array of classes to hip-hop, Zumba, and Bollywood beats. But the coronavirus crisis has mostly cleared out her studios, forcing her to go where her clients are, home. Now she live streams more than 35 classes a week, a pivot that has kept her business afloat at a time of dizzying growth for all things fitness related. Sales of fitness gear, gadgets, and apparel have skyrocketed during the pandemic as homebound consumers have scrambled to build home gyms, loaded up on sneakers, and downloaded fitness apps by the millions. As soon as the lockdowns took effect, the home fitness business took off like wildfire, Matt Powell, Vice President and Senior Industry Advisor for the NPD Group, a market research company. Americans spent heavily across all price points, from $3,000 cardio machines to $20 yoga mats. They also hit the running and hiking trails in earnest. Yellowstone National Park recorded its busiest September and October on record and embraced other outdoor activities to escape the monotony of stay-at-home life. Health and fitness equipment revenue more than doubled to $2.3 billion from March to October, according to NPD retail data. Sales of treadmills soared 135%, while those of stationary bikes nearly tripled, depleting inventories. The trend has stretched through seasonal changes. The surge in bicycle and kayak purchases recorded in the spring and summer is now manifesting in cold weather gear such as cross-country skis, snowshoes, and outerwear. Demand for equipment that can be used close to home or outdoors is off the charts, said Ben Johns, General Manager for Action Sports for REI. Fire pit sales in the fall grew sixfold year over year, he noted. People clearly have looked to outdoor activities as a way to escape the realities that we all have to deal with. But 2020 was also a punishing year for gyms. Hirsch, the founder and president of Philly Dance Fitness, said business was flourishing at the beginning of the year. She was looking to expand, intent on moving from subleased locations to a spacious studio of her own. Some of her clients were running through final rehearsals of Take It Off Broadway, a jazz and burlesque dance show inspired by musicals. But that changed in March when the pandemic took hold. Like other small business owners, Hirsch said, the sudden blow of government-mandated closures slashed revenue dramatically. Since then, any move towards recovery has gotten squeezed by capacity constraints and generalized anxiety that's kept potential drop-ins away. The reason we are still here right now is because I haven't been paying full rent, she said. If we had to pay full rent, we'd be done. And so it goes on to say, it talks about her classes and Peloton and how well Peloton is doing. Like I said, I don't have time to go into all of that. And so yet another example highlighting the pivot. Again, the shift in consumer behavior that was mandated obviously by the pandemic and gym closures, that it shifted, moved things in that direction. Lastly, I'm going to highlight here another Washington Post article that says home workouts. So we talk about, again, the digitization and the virtualization of workouts, that pivot in that direction. All right, and so this article addresses that. Home workouts are getting expensive as apps embrace pricey subscriptions. And so this article was published by Rachel Lerman, January 22nd of this year. And so the subhead of that is fitness apps are relying on the tried and true subscription model to encourage people to keep their New Year's resolutions, or at least keep paying. So not going to read all of this one either. Lengthy, you can Google it and look it up on your own. And so it says, read some highlights of it. Working out at home was supposed to be cheaper. No gym membership, no fancy workout clothes, no expensive spin classes. We were going to take free jogs in nature, do push-ups between Zoom meetings, dance off calories in our living rooms. It turns out motivation isn't always that easy or free. Over the past year, our pandemic fitness routines have turned into a gold rush for tech and fitness companies like Peloton, Apple, and Fitbit. They're making money off expensive home equipment, wearables, virtual consultations, and increasingly, monthly subscription fees. Fitness apps are taking a page out of Netflix's handbook in the new year and building on their pandemic success to lure more people into workout subscriptions, which give access to pre-recorded and live fitness classes or offer guidance and personalized training. Like a number of industries that have transitioned to heavily digital, many companies and even smaller studios and individual instructors are finding that subscriptions are key to survival and growth. Data from mobile app analytics company Sensor Tower shows that consumers spent $167 million in just the top 5 mobile apps last year alone, a 40% increase from the year before. And in May, 3.3 million people in the United States downloaded one of the 5 most popular fitness apps, a 43% increased from the typically busy New Year's resolution season in January. In Kingsville, Ontario, Trish Alsop figured it was a choice between eating comfort foods and drinking wine to pass the time during the pandemic or jump on the healthy train. She chose the latter and bought a Peloton for $1,829 to start riding the first week of January. The subscription fee of $39 plus the addictive nature of the classes has kept her going. It's comparable to a gym rate that we're paying, and it motivates us to use it because we're paying for it, she said. As devices and the internet become more prolific and industry shifts to digital, it is increasingly clear that subscriptions are necessary to maintain previous levels of profitability. Publishers, TV streaming apps, and grocery and restaurant delivery services are all moving towards this model, which maintains a steady stream of income. Netflix and Amazon Prime are two of the pioneers of the digital age model. Even iPhone maker Apple has shifted its priorities to software and services in the past 2 years, increasingly acknowledging that hardware sales alone are not enough to build a tech powerhouse and keep customers and their wallets engaged. And there's a disclaimer. Amazon chief executive Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. So this particular article that I'm reading from is a Washington Post article. Some of this is just business logic, said Julie Ask, a principal analyst at Forrester Research. Netflix and Amazon prove if you get people signed up, they don't turn it off. In the fitness space, people for years have been able to watch free workout videos online. The market for home tutorials became more crowded in the past decade as smartphones became ubiquitous and health wearables, especially Fitbits and Apple Watches, became the fashion. During the pandemic, as other costs were reduced and many gyms were closed, consumers have become more willing to shell out cash on workout apps, analysts say. They can cost as little as $5 a month for a Strava bicycling app subscription or the nearly $40 a month for Peloton's membership, required for its on-demand classes. Monthly or annual subscriptions to services such as Fitbit, WW, formerly Weight Watchers, or Peloton have steadily gained ground for years, but spending on similar home fitness apps soared in popularity last year. Apple is the latest big name to get into the fitness market with the launch of Apple Fitness Plus last month. The $10 monthly subscription service, which offers workouts and personalized data combined with Apple Watch hardware, is the latest such service from Apple, joining Apple TV Plus and Apple Music. Not going to read the rest of that article. More discussion about Peloton in that article as well. But just goes to show you what is going on. Some of the major players are entering or certainly enhancing their offerings in the fitness space, such as Apple. All right, and so you can realize with the financial depth that Apple, or a brand such as Apple, has behind it to enter the fitness market. So they've got Apple Fitness, and so it's so important to recognize. I'm going to highlight the SWOT analysis again. What's going on, particularly external? What's going on? What are the threats to your particular market, to your facility or facilities, chain of facilities, personal training business, group fitness classes? Just recognize that there's a shift that is an accelerated shift that happened in 2020, and there appears to be no turning back. There's going to be a lot of growth, certainly for years to come in that area. And so, why did I spend my whole fitness trends? I typically, look at various aspects of differing fitness trends, and why I wanted to highlight this, particularly in the first quarter of this year, is we have to face the reality of what's going on in the reality of the situation. So my purpose always for Fitness Fridays, I have great clarity why I'm here and why I do what I do. And those two are to tell the truth and to help people. And so what I, particularly from a consulting background, I want folks to be, particularly in the fitness space, and why I do this, week after week, since 2014, because I want you to realize what is going on with great clarity, what is going on in the market, and what is going on, certainly, from an economical standpoint, from the fitness space, outside the fitness space, what is going on, the reality of what's going on, and the reality of the threat that the home-based fitness segment, this the accelerated shift in that direction, what exactly is going on, and the reality of that. Why? To encourage you to say, all right, we can't control any of this. Gym owner X may say, or franchisee X may say, private studio, spinning studio owner or X may say, we can't control any of this. And I'm telling you, you obviously can't control any of this. how people are reacting to the pandemic, you know, people's desire and all of this and that in terms of, you know, feeling comfortable indoors versus outdoors, all of that. There's a lot that you can't control. There's much that we can't control in life in general. But what I want to challenge you to do is focus on what you can control. The strengths and weaknesses of your facility or facilities or chain of facilities. Your strengths and weaknesses as a potential personal trainer or your personal training business, all right, or group fitness instruction. This is an opportunity to say, to dig in deep and say, okay, what are we doing? How effective is it working? I mean, how effective is it? Is it working? Is it not working? And I talked last week about the value of soliciting member feedback to recognize, hey, this is how people feel. Look at your Google reviews, look at your Yelp reviews, yes, and recognize that there's, in the spirit of balance, there's going to be a lot of times when people do those type of reviews, they're either extremely happy or extremely upset and disgruntled. And so it's important to get a source of balanced feedback. And so you want to get some feedback from those people in the middle, the people that may just not be commenting or saying anything, but maybe members of your facility or your studio, whatever the case may be, that can provide you valuable feedback. And that's why I'm a very big proponent of feedback, and I've provided a lot of feedback over the years, certainly just as a random customer to a store, all the way up to, you know, an advisory panelist for Michigan Medicine or University of Michigan Health System in their division of precision health. So I'm happy to do that. I love to do that, but it is so important. I mean, like I said, rarely when people just provide unsolicited feedback, particularly on social media and those types of things, they're extremely happy and rah, 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 we love you, we love your gym, we love your chain, you're the best, or we hate you, you suck, I'm never joining your facility again, and I'm posting this so the world can see how awful I think you are. And so just recognize, yes, you want to acknowledge, you want to listen to, you want to respond to what the people on the negative side of the equation are saying, as well as extremely positive people. But you want to get a healthy sample, a representative sample of members of your facility to say, those people in the middle who perhaps aren't saying anything, they have feedback that will be certainly valuable to your operations. But folks, you can control this. All right, in the corporate world, I'm used to hear ad nauseum, just in sales meetings, everything else, control what you can control. And I used to just ad nauseum. It was almost like, you know, just the leadership had to memorize and just say that mantra as often as possible. But looking back now, I can see just how real that was, and just how invaluable wisdom that was, to say there's so much you can't control. So, but control what you can control. You can control what you can't control. You can't control people losing jobs in the economy, you know, in the unemployment rate, all of that. That will all work itself out in time, and you can't control any of that. But what you can control is when people do decide to join your facility, or perhaps subscribe to your app, or whatever the case may be, or step inside your facility, or call your facility inquiring about memberships, or even if you have, you know, e-newsletter communications where you're marketing to potential members or current members. Those are things you can control. What type of content are we putting out there? What are we saying? Is there any value in this? Are people reading this? What are our click-through rates? And that's one of the things I told you even about my membership at, you know, the Edge Fitness Clubs here in Farmington Hills, Michigan, is that, what do I say, is as soon as they launched that newsletter, just right after the pandemic, I have been engaged on a weekly basis ever since. I mean, reading those weekly newsletters that come out on Sunday mornings, early Sunday mornings, I'm right there, and have been doing that since last year for a long time. So that was an opportunity for them to continue to keep me engaged, as well as their members at the time, but I was a potential member they were marketing to. But that was an opportunity to keep me engaged, and look what happened in the end. I ended up joining. So just recognize, folks, I want to encourage you. Yes, I want to enlighten you about, yes, the threats that exist out there, and how entities within the fitness market and outside of the fitness industry are taking advantage of those opportunities and the shift towards home and digitization and all of that. But I want to encourage you today to control what you can control. I know it hasn't been easy. I know it's been a rough year almost here since the pandemic really took hold on this country, but there's so much that you can control. Communicating with your members, soliciting feedback, expressing appreciation, letting them know how much you value their membership. Those are tried and true things, certainly from a customer service standpoint, That's one of my training areas, is in addition to sales, leadership development, is customer service. And so those are things that you can do. Those are things that you can control to keep people engaged, to keep people saying, hey, I have some reservations. A person may have reservations about entering facility, and they've been a member of a certain, chain or club or studio, and saying, well, I don't feel comfortable going in person. Hey, I'm going to take advantage of these digital offerings here offered by my club or my studio. But also, hey, I really like the way they're treating me. I really like the way they're keeping in touch with me, and just little things like those are ways to keep the ball to keep the ball moving, to keep things moving in the right direction during this time of tremendous challenge on the fitness industry, this time of great uncertainty. And so I want to close out this episode here with just some final words of encouragement, because adversity, I often say, adversity, and this is so true, we grow so much in life, personally, professionally, during seasons of adversity, during the valleys of life, as opposed to the mountaintops. Why? Because the valleys of life reveal who we are, reveal our character, reveal what we are truly made of, reveal our sense of determination, our willingness to keep on keeping on, our commitment to whatever it is, our purpose, whatever we decide to do. In this case, it may be, somebody may own facilities, manage facilities, lead facilities, serve as a group fitness instructor or personal trainer, fitness consultant, health coach. There's just so many different, titles we can look at in the fitness industry. But adversity happens to all of us. And I think the coronavirus pandemic has certainly been a equalizer when it comes to adversity. There's no one on this planet that has not been impacted in some form or fashion by this coronavirus pandemic. And so seasons of adversity, they refine and develop and certainly reveal our character, give us opportunities to grow that we otherwise wouldn't take. Because me on a personal level, what impacted the coronavirus? Remember last year I talked in episodes about Rachelle's coronavirus challenge and how I was going to use this pandemic to grow as a person, to evolve as a person, and how the pandemic has had positive impacts on me personally. In terms of just growth, in terms of humility and compassion, and understanding and patience, and helping to swat away that innate selfishness that we have as human beings. And how I told you back in, before the pandemic, if I go to a store and they've got 6 of an item, and back then I would have bought all 6 and, cleared out whatever it is I was buying, cleared off the shelf of whatever I was trying to buy. But as a result of the pandemic, walking into a store, realizing that a lot of things were, running low on stock or out of stock, and only buying 2 instead of the 6, thinking of the next person that was going to come in, the next shopper that was going to come in and buy that item. So if we allow it, adversity can be a big blessing in our lives. I know people hate to hear that, and people hate adversity, people hate the storms of life, but they happen to all of us. And the big and important thing is that we emerge better than ever. All right, how can a facility leader, a facility owner, manager, whatever the case may be, personal trainer, group fitness instructor, consultant, whatever the case may be, how can we all emerge as better individuals and better professionals, more committed to fitness, more committed to wellness and health as a result of this pandemic? How can it make us better is the big question. And I bought this book, and Michigan Wolverine fans, I need you to be patient with me. This wonderful book I bought, and actually I bought this from Dollar Tree. If you don't know already, if you haven't been watching me long enough, I love Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree is my store. I have been to Dollar Trees in different states in this country. I absolutely love Dollar Tree as my store. So I actually found this book, and it's a wonderful book on leadership. I'm always reading a lot on leadership because that's part of what I do. And so this wonderful book on Urban Meyer, Above the Line, I bought this at the Dollar Tree in Sikeston, Missouri. The last time I drove to Louisiana for the holidays in December of last year. And so it's a wonderful book, but I've got a little sticky note here. I want to highlight a little portion here. And part of it talks about, their award, their championship winning season. The adversities that they had to overcome in order to make that happen that season. And so he talks about, the importance, the performance of the team, and everyone doing their part, yada, yada. I won't get into all this. I want to highlight, one little short paragraph here as I close. Randy Pausch, the author of the last lecture, wrote this about adversity. The brick walls are there for a reason. The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. The brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. All right. Your fitness, your commitment to fitness is being tested. It doesn't matter if you own a facility, you run in a facility, you work in a facility as a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, front desk associate, whatever the case may be. So how badly do you want it? How badly is the success? How badly do you want your facility or facilities to be successful? The coronavirus is a very big test. It's tested everyone in various aspects of life, but certainly the fitness industry has been impacted certainly beyond measure and compared to past adversities. So folks, remain committed, stay determined, recognize and realize what was the impetus for you to open up a franchise, or to open up your own private facility or studio, or begin working as a personal trainer or group fitness instructor or whatever role within the facility, a dietitian. All right, so we have to realize that we're going to be tested. You saw it unfold before you in real time. Rachelle's Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS. My own fitness journey was tested last year when facilities were closed, as I had since May of 1994 had relied exclusively on gyms. All right, but I met the test head on. I started Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. Now I have a hybrid membership with Edge Fitness Clubs, and I'm really enjoying both. But recognize you're going to be tested. All right, I didn't stop. Rachelle's Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS, or my Posi-TIPS, my non-fitness Posi-TIPS, they didn't stop with the pandemic. Why? Because this is part of my purpose. This is part of what I do, and I'm very passionate about the fitness industry. I'm very passionate about fitness in general, of course, me on a personal level, but your success in fitness and the fitness industry. That's why I'm here. That's why I continue to do what I do. No pandemic or anything else is going to cause my commitment to that and my determination in that regard to waver. All right, so I challenge you, folks. I challenge you. Keep on keeping on. Remain encouraged. Yes, recognize what the threats are to the fitness industry, but recognize there's a lot you can control. Just focus on controlling what you can control. All right, folks, and things will get better. Be encouraged. Things will get better. Remain committed. Remain determined. See this thing through, and you will not regret it. You will not regret it. We are all tested in life. All types of entities are being tested right now and have been tested in the last year. You have what it takes to overcome this season of adversity. Stay focused. Stay full of purpose. Stay determined. And you will emerge on the other side of this better than you were before this pandemic even started. I assure you, if you have the right attitude, if you're open to making changes and doing what needs to be done and doing the hard work of evaluating where you are right now, what needs to be changed, and just get ready, folks. Get ready, get ready, get ready. And that is all I have for you today. It has been great. Next time, we're going to look at some positive pointers, and I cannot wait until that conversation, to that episode. But until then, remember, I am positively passionate about your fitness, success, and leadership. Make it a great day, and continue to make it a great 2021.